So good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to have you all here. As you can see, these coffees are becoming more and more popular, so the crowds are getting bigger, and that's great. That's exactly what we love to see. Want to give you a few updates. I'm probably not supposed to walk back and forth. I can tell already Bill's going, would you please stand still?
I got you covered.
But I can't help it. Few updates. As you know, the last time we met, I was on my way to London to meet with staff of the Lord Mayor. I can tell you that officially he will be here October 20th, which is a Saturday. He'll arrive the 19th in the evening. He'll be here all day Saturday, October 20th, and then about a half day on Sunday before he has to, I believe he's going to be headed back to London once again. He was going to be going to Mexico, that changed, and now he will be headed back to London. It was a lot of fun. The trip was a lot of fun. Unfortunately, everybody in the party, it was myself, my wife, Councilmember McCoy and her husband. They all got sick. I was fine. But, two of them ended up in the hospital. It was interesting, but it went. In the end, it all went very, very well. It was a great ceremony, the Freedom of the City ceremony. That's the ceremony I talked about that goes back some 800 years. They gave a history of that certificate, which was basically back in the day. If you didn't have this certificate, you were not able to conduct business within that 1 square mile back in the 12th, 13th, 14th century. The other thing the certificate allows me to do is take sheep across the London Bridge. So I can't wait to get a sheep.
Does that mean you're a citizen too?
No, just me. I'm the only one with a certificate.
No, we're the sheep.
No. So they told a bunch of different stories about who went through the ceremony. One of my favorite ones was Morgan Freeman, the actor, went through the ceremony because they decided that anybody with the name Freeman should become a freeman. That's what you're known as after you get this certificate. And they said with that big booming voice of his, because you have to read from a little script, but they asked him at the luncheon to say a few words, and they said, "Then Mayor, we're gonna ask you to do the same." Okay, no problem. So they get to the luncheon and they asked Mr. Freeman if he could say a few words, and there's maybe a dozen people around the table or so, and they said he kind of looked each person in the eye, and the anticipation began to build, wondering what he was going to say, and he said, "Thank you very much." It was quite an honor. And they said, "Well, Mr. Freeman, would you like to say anything else?" He says, "I don't give speeches unless there's a script." He says, and that was the end of it. So it was a great trip. We enjoyed it. We then went from London to Ireland. That was purely for vacationing. My wife has always wanted to see Ireland. Since we were that close, we were able to do it. We took a little trip across the countryside in a bus tour, and one of my favorite stories from the bus driver was that he was from Dublin, which is the eastern part of Ireland, and then we were headed to the western part of Ireland, what's known as Cliffs of Moher. And as we were getting across the country, he started telling us that now we're entering Western Ireland, and he said here they believe in leprechauns. And he says, but here they refer to as fairies. you'll see fairy rings, fairy trees, etc. And he said, and when I say they believe it, I mean they believe it. They will have and he pointed out there's a kind of a ring of trees. They consider those sacred. Those are fairy rings. If it's in the middle of your farmland, you don't touch a branch. You just plow around it. You do whatever you had to do. And then he said when the government wanted to build the highway going across Ireland, they ran into a fairy ring. And all the construction workers were from the west coast of Ireland. And construction stopped. And of course, everyone's like, what are you doing? Can't touch that fairy ring. No way, no how. It is bad luck. Will be cursed forever. Just plow through it. No way. Long story short, 6 months and €500,000 later, they went around the fairy ring and completed the highway. So it was pretty interesting stories and the things that they truly believe in. We also did a wonderful tour of the Guinness Brewery, so that was kind of fun as well. But all in all, it was a great trip, and we did some planning for the Lord Mayor, and we're working on his itinerary as we speak, but we're very excited about the fact that he's going to be here. We're still trying to figure out if there is a way we can cross the London Bridge with a sheep, because he's a freeman as well. So, but we'll see. Just a couple updates. As you can tell, the city is hopping. You read in the paper, Dunkin' Donuts is going to be opening up next month. I'm sorry. It didn't say Dunkin' Bagels. It said Dunkin' Donuts.
Big difference.
A big difference. Yeah, I'll come here for the bagels. The hotel there down by the English Village is anticipated to open middle of July. We had hoped at one point it'd be around July 4th, but it looks like it'd be more like the 15th or so. In fact, some of our crews walked the hotel with the builder, doing some preliminary inspections because they want to get some of the employees in to begin training them before they open. Havasu Riviera is coming along nicely. They're rezoning some of the areas so that they can begin residential construction. The new independent living on Swanson, as you can see, is moving rapidly. The Foothills second phase moving rapidly. Everything's going incredibly well, and we continue to get more commercial permits. I also noticed that there is a sold sign, finally, on that old trailside gas station. And it is so good to see. We've tried to do some enforcement on that, but because the underground tanks were being looked at, we really couldn't do a whole heck of a lot. It is my understanding is that it will become a convenience store in that area. But it's nice to see that finally somebody bought it, plans to fix it up, take away that eyesore in our community. So that's really good. Let's see. What else am I forgetting? Prop 409, you're probably going to start seeing banners in certain businesses saying, I'm 100% Havasu. And those are businesses that have indicated that they want to support Proposition 409 so that the city can continue to budget locally and not have the state tell us how to budget. Just as a reminder, Proposition 409, notwithstanding what some of the letters to the editor have said, is not a license to spend more money. or raise your taxes. That is just flat incorrect. The only thing it does is allows us to utilize the funds we're already collecting for your benefit. In other words, if we want to be able to hire more public safety without 409, we can't. If you want improved roads, we can't. If you want to see upgrades to our parks, we can't. But with the passage of Prop 409, we'll be able to do that because we have the funds available. But because of this goofy 1980 law that limits expenditures for cities and towns based on population and inflation and whatnot, we can't do any of that. And as a reminder, we're not the only city dealing with it. 77 out of the 91 cities and towns in Arizona have already had a similar proposition as 409. Some do what we're trying to do, and that is a change in the permanent base, which that way the voters only have to deal with this once. Others do what they call home rule. Kingman is doing home rule this year. They have been doing it for some time. Home rule basically means we're going to ask the voters to take certain expenditures out of the equation. So they're going to their voters, as they did 4 years ago, and say, would you be okay if we did not count water, sewer, and trash expenditures in the expenditure limitation? That is a possibility. We could do that, but the problem is, again, you're going back every 4 years. We would rather just do one-time adjustment to our permanent base and move forward. So I encourage you to take a good look at it. We cannot see any downside whatsoever, and I think once everybody understands what Prop 409 is, they'll come to the same conclusion. But again, you're going to see these banners throughout businesses, and they have indicated that as I said, they do not want to see the state telling us how to budget locally. I can tell you, I've been mayor now almost 12 years. We balance the budget every year. That is not going to change. There'll still be an expenditure limitation. It's just a different number. That's really all that it means. And it's so drastic if we're not able to move forward with the budget that the citizens have told us that we need to have here in Lake Havasu, that the consequences are pretty dire. Just so you know, this year, yep, we have a balanced budget, as we always do. We were barely under the expenditure limitation this year because we had to eliminate some of the projects to get there. So again, take a good look at it, but I encourage you to put in a yes vote for that. Now, last meeting, several asked that we ask the police chief to attend. Chief Dan Doyle is here today, so if you have questions today, all of them will be answered by Chief Doyle. You could just see the enthusiasm on his face. Now, if you do have police-related questions, he's the man. He's been our police chief for a long time, does a great job, and so he'll answer your questions. Let's see, and I also want to recognize the fact that we have Councilmember David Lane here today, and Vice Mayor Sheehy is here today as well. So what I can't answer, they're happy to answer. So let's open it up for questions. Yes, sir.
I'll stick one in real quick on
Okay.
Prop 409.
Sure.
Are the renters of homes in Havasu voting on Prop 409, or is it strictly for home and business owners?
Everybody that's a registered voter is eligible to vote on
So
Prop
all we
409.
gotta do is encourage them, if you haven't, please register.
Correct.
Back 409.
Yeah, because it has nothing to do with a property tax or any other tax.
Right.
So as long as you're a registered voter, it will be on same ballot as when you're voting for mayor, council, legislature in August.
And
on
if they
August
haven't
20th.
registered now, we can encourage them to register so
Yes.
they can vote.
Absolutely,
Okay.
there's still time.
But you have to be residents of
Yeah, you have to be a qualified registered voter here in Lake Havasu City. Yes, sir.
Yeah, on the Riviera project, is that gonna be fully funded under the current budget, or is that gonna have to be separate from that 409?
Well, the Havasu Riviera is primarily a private development.
Well, there is city involvement, yes?
Only to the extent of the road that goes from the highway down to the state park. Yeah, there's a misunderstanding, and probably because of the way the paper on occasion has put it, that somehow the city's building all these roads for the Riviera project, but that is not the case.
Okay.
What we agreed to do, and this agreement was really with Arizona State Parks, was if they could get that state park started, we would commit to building the basic road and infrastructure to get to that state park. Now, the developer, of course, is going to use that road to access his private development, and they want more amenities for that road. They pay for all of that. So they're paying for all the upgrades, upsizing, everything. So we'll initially put it in, and then they'll pay us back. So, great question. Chuck?
A couple of things. We're going to wait to see on the 409 vote for that center that you want to put in over there.
Yes.
In that. The other thing is, June read me in the paper that the signal is going to be about a month behind
Correct.
in that. Are they anticipating possibly having that all open by Labor Day?
No, no.
It's going to be in October?
It's originally planned for October. It sounds like the signal light may trail that by about a month. So we're determining now whether or not they're even going to be able to open October. So we don't know. We hope so. That's really the plan. But yeah, ADOT, because of their review times and whatnot, delayed the opening of the.
And they're going to have the road from 95 as you go down and that towards the state park, then you'll kind of pull off into an area like you do at Windsor to get into the launch ramp and that. Is that how they got that set up?
I don't know. Do you know just how they've? I don't have a map of it,
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
But
Like you do off London Bridge Road and that, you have to, and I hope they have enough room behind it.
well, there's plenty of room. If you're talking about down at the new state park,
Yeah.
there'll be plenty of room down there. They've got 40 acres.
But I mean, people pulling in, that London Bridge Road can really back up bad, on long weekends and stuff.
Right.
People waiting
Now
to
there's
pull in
plenty.
there.
There's plenty of road space that goes from the highway all the way down. So it would be amazing if it backed up. So there's plenty of room.
Is that going to be 2 lanes each direction or single lane each direction?
I believe they're going to go 2. Other questions? Yes, sir.
Is the state planning on and off ramps on that intersection?
Say that again.
Is the state planning on and off ramps for that intersection?
Yeah, it's just right turn lanes, and with a light. Yeah. So, yeah, that's pretty much all they'll be. Yes, sir.
So great job on Body Beach, but I've got, I do a lot of ATVing and boat. On the island, there's a part of a burnout area, lots of trash, stuff like that. I took pictures, I can send them to you.
Please.
Absolutely an eyesore if you're cruising the island, want to go fishing. It's also used as kind of like a launch ramp for people with jet skis and small boats and stuff. But anyway, it's an eyesore.
Okay.
And this is on city property, I would imagine, seeing how it's on the island.
Wow.
It's not on county.
Yeah, no, most of the island is state trust lands.
Okay, well, it would be nice if we got that cleaned up. Yeah, I'm sure that's been burned out for a long, long time because, I mean, it's the trash has been on it.
Yeah, if you'll send me the pictures with an explanation of roughly where it's at,
Okay.
we can take a look at it. If it is on state trust lands, we'll have to get permission from them to do anything, which in the past hasn't been too much of it's kind of a bureaucratic issue more than anything else, but they've given us permission. We've actually, down on the island, there's an area called That Beach. Literally, that's the name of it, That Beach. And we've put dumpsters and whatnot, and unfortunately, for whatever reason, people won't use the darn dumpster. A lot of times we'll see all the trash piled around the dumpster instead of in the dumpster.
Well,
And then they decided to use the dumpster as a floating device.
well, here's a question for the police chief then.
You bet.
So if you see somebody dumping stuff on these the lands, can you physically arrest them? You know, call you guys up and say, hey, these guys, or because this has got to stop. I mean, this is a beautiful, beautiful place to live, and it's starting to get a little out of hand. Tires being dumped out in the roads, which if the ATVers would probably pick these tires up, but there's no place to take them to.
Sure.
If you guys could sit there and say, okay, discount tires, whatever, make it an agreement with them to accept these old tires. You know, we pick them up out there. We pick them up, and
Yeah, the four-wheeling groups do a great job. They clean up the desert. I've actually been part of that in the past. So there are plenty of volunteer groups. But did you want the chief to answer your question?
yeah, go ahead. Can you physically detain a person for dumping trash? I'm not talking about throwing a piece of paper. I'm talking about dumping trash.
Yes,
You can.
yes. If we see it and we can prove that they're the ones that dumped it. We get a lot of calls and people will say there's somebody down at that beach and there's a bunch of trash laying around. We have to prove that it's their trash. We have to be able to prove that they're the ones that dumped it. And at that beach, the biggest problem is we've done everything that you possibly can to try to make it convenient for people with their trash. The Marine Association and associated groups have put trash bags down there, trash bag dispensers. They'll burn the trash bag dispensers. They'll hook up to them with chains and yank them out. It just, unfortunately, it just seems to be a real struggle to get people to stop dumping trash. Same thing with, you see up off of Bison. We've done details up there where we drive up. City property only goes, our city boundaries only go up about a mile or so once you get off on the road where everybody shoots. And we'll go up there in our off-road vehicles and contact people and advise them. Our problem up there is people hauling toilets and glass bottles and those type of things, and they shoot them and then they leave the debris laying around. So we've done efforts up there, and then our community groups have done a great job picking them up. If we catch them, or somebody goes up and dumps a bunch of their trash and their bills are in there, and we can prove it came from them, then definitely. The county actually has a program also, their erase program, that will prosecute people. So yes, if we can catch them, we do prosecute.
Okay, can a citizen seize them? Can he grab them or detain them until the police get there?
What I would do is I would call us I mean, do you really want to get into a fist fight with somebody because they threw a piece of, I mean, the thing is you can grab somebody, but if you grab them, you're going to escalate a situation. But I would say if you see somebody dumping trash or doing something, get a license plate, give us a call, let us deal with it so that you don't get yourself in trouble.
Yeah, use your cell phone, take a picture.
Yeah, that's our app. If you have our app on your phone,
Yeah, I do.
you know, snap a picture and just attach it, send it to us, and then let us take it from there.
You have an app?
Yes,
Yes.
everybody has.
It's called Havasu Now.
You see a
Yeah,
pothole,
your app is great.
I gotta download it now.
LACPD on Google Play Store or your Apple Store.
Yeah, or another one called Havasu Now. So where you see a pothole needs fixing, you can use that. It's great. We give you an update as to status, everything.
you see a house that has a bunch of trash around it.
So, yeah, it works out very well.
And the one thing
I
good
was-
about that app is it gives it the coordinates, from the satellite, it tells you where that satellite
Right,
picture's at.
right. I thought, were you going to make an announcement?
Yeah, welcome.
Oh. But I thought something about a chair or
So,
something.
under one of the chairs, there's a coupon for a half dozen free bagels. So whoever's sitting on that chair, before you go, get your free bagels.
Yeah,
And we
so
got plenty of
keep
bagels
that in
over
mind.
there.
Under your chair, there's a coupon for a half dozen free bagels. So, I think it's
Thank you for coming.
I think it's under my chair, but don't worry about that.
Mayor, I wanted to give some thoughts to your code enforcement.
Okay?
When Body Beach burnt, it got me thinking about a house across the street from me that had lots of debris from plants. Dead trees, last monsoon, tree blew over, still there, it's been there. It was a complete eyesore. And thinking about Body Beach burning, it got me really worried because I'm thinking if someone throws a cigarette out of the car,
Sure.
they're gonna light up this yard, and it's right across the street from my house. And with our winds, that just made me very nervous. And I called code enforcement, and they were very pleasant, very understanding. They came right out and corrected the problem.
Oh, good.
And so I was really, really impressed with how they handled things, and they got it done. And so I just wanted to tell you, I was really happy. And I don't call places like that very often. It was the first time I ever did it, and I was really, really pleased with the results.
Good.
So
Good. Well, I'm sure Jess will pass that on.
pass it on, please.
To our department. So. Yes, sir.
I volunteer on the ramps at State Park.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And on Saturday and Sunday, I would say that 75% of the rental boats were not tagged as with a rental boat company's name on the side. And I think it's pretty sad that we've got Oregon trucks launching Montana boats to use Lake Havasu city facilities. I think that I thought there was an ordinance that the boats had to have the name of the rental agency on the side of them.
I don't know the answer to that question. I'm not sure why they would have to.
I think it's part of the entertainment tax, I believe, but somehow that just seems all wrong to me.
Yeah, I mean, there is a sales tax for entertainment.
Right.
But that would be, that I'm not sure that would matter whether or not the boat has the sticker, because you would collect that at the register when you rent. But I can look into it. I didn't know.
That could be a game and fish rule, but
Yeah.
I know it's a rule because I know a guy that has a rental boat and he has to have the name and tag on the side of the boat.
I'll try to find out for you. Absolutely. Yes, sir.
So there's going to be a swim coming up. A local swim club is going to do a swim across the lake.
Okay.
I'm familiar with in Australia, in Western Australia, the city of Perth, they have an open water swim. It's a little bit longer than the 3 miles, but regardless, it's a huge, huge event. Is there a city, somebody in the city that looks after this stuff, or is it, to talk to them about maybe the city sponsoring something like this, an
Well-
open water swim? It's-
Well, normally the city doesn't sponsor too many events. We do a few, but most of those types of events are private promoters.
Okay.
And they do work through our Convention and Visitors Bureau as well as our city to get the various permits that are appropriate. In some cases, they don't need a permit. But yeah, those, we coordinate with the CVB and Brian Allen down in our permit group to make, our special events group, if you will, to make sure that those go off without a hitch. Because many of those kinds of events need public safety. So,
The Stingray swim team here has that. Every year they sponsor a swim across the lake. They have the patrol out there, they have kayak people and volunteers with boats so that each swimmer has a escort across the lake. And every June they do that. And it's a fundraiser for the swim team. It's a Stingray swim team. They function out of the aquatic center. They usually advertise that in the paper, and I'll be glad to talk to you again.
go ahead.
Last Saturday, my wife received a phone call informing her that she'd won the Reader's Digest. $5,000 a week, and for a few seconds, it was a great idea. But it was the typical con, and we had called at one point in time. I'd kept the guy on the line for a half hour, just because I'm tying him up and he's not able to make other cons. We finally called the police department. One of your guys came out. We talked to him, and there's nothing much he could do because it's out of country probably. But he was nice enough and explained the rules of what's going on and how it's done and how often these problems occur. And he says, now watch. He says, when I tell him, when I answer the phone, he will drop the F-bomb like you can't believe. Sure as heck, he picked the phone up when the guy called back to verify our phone number and answered the phone, and the guy says, who's this? And he says, officer. And boy, I mean to tell you, it was like a script. For the next 10 minutes, we were called everything in the world, beginning with F. It amazes me that these organizations can still exist and operate. I really wanted a way to suck this guy in close enough to be able to put the hand on him and put him in the Crowbar Motel. But like he was pointing out, these guys are out of country.
There's always going to be scams.
I worry because seniors are more vulnerable in some cases than others and susceptible. And this guy had a pretty good pitch going for a while. I realize there's nothing I can do, but I sure wish those of us that are brighter than I could come up with a way in which we could sting them. That's the thing I would like to do. Burn them so bad that it takes the fun out of it. Anyway.
Well, it sounded like you did take the fun out of it.
We tied him up for close to an hour. He was not a happy camper by the time he got done. That's for sure.
Chuck.
Yeah, the one that I've been getting is the one that's been coming, oh, this is your grandson. And stuff like that. That's the one that's really going around good. And they use a Google number that you can't trace in that. That's the ones that really catch the seniors really bad because they don't think about, oh, my grandson, The first time I got it, I said, oh, you're my grandson? What's your name? And he was telling me all this BS and that, and finally I told him, I said, look, I have no grandson. Don't call me again, She hates it when I get to keep these people on the phone because I'll just lead them on, and that. That's the worst one when they really tug at your heart for that. Oh, I'm in trouble, I'm in jail, I need bail money or something like that.
Yeah, now the police department will release every once in a while press releases of current scams that are hitting our neighborhoods, so you should watch for those. Yes, sir.
All right, so this is going to be for you and the police chief. I was here, or not here, but maybe 2 meetings ago, and I asked about the police department giving raises to keep the police, fire, city, and you said something about proposition that would allow you to do that. And I'm wondering if that is still correct, or would you?
Well, first of all, our employees are getting, police and fire are getting what we call step raises this year. So that is occurring even under Prop 409, are the limitations that we have right now. But as I said, our expenditure limitation and our budget are almost exactly equal. So that's obviously going to limit us in the future if 409 is turned down. So and I can tell you what the council asked staff to do next year is that once we see the results of Prop 409, is to really take a look citywide, do an analysis of not only our, what we call our STEP program. You go through for every classification, you go step 1 up to step 10. Those aren't used too much anymore, so we've asked them to take a look and see if there's a better way to reward employees. And then we'll also look at current markets, because we have some that are under market and we have people who are over market. And so what we try to do is, and you're not going to do it within 1 or 2%, but we try to keep it within 5 or 6% either side. Okay, so the answer to your question is we will not only just take care of public safety, but all employees, but based on merit and needs and that sort of thing. We have a lot of jobs right now we can't fill. Tough to find. Just tough to find qualified people. But you know what? That's happening all across rural America. It seems that the big cities are more popular these days to move to. Rural Arizona, rural America, it's more difficult. And it's not unlike what we've been talking about for the last several years, and why we have our strategic plan called Havasu Vision 2020. We are experiencing demographic starvation. And what that basically means is that we don't have enough workforce to be able to sustain ourselves for a long period of time. And the reason is because people like myself, 10,000 of us are retiring every day, and we didn't have enough kids to replace ourselves. So what you're finding is that, especially in highly technical areas, there is a void of a workforce. And our Vision 2020 is trying to address that by, one, trying to train some of our companies locally on how to grow, how to hire, how to market, all of those things. And in addition, we're trying to make our city more attractive to people who are in the workforce, people who are 25 to 45 years old. And we're working, that's why some of these projects that you're seeing we're trying to complete, whether it be additional parks, adding a better technology throughout our community so that people can work anywhere from their home or whatever on a computer. It is, and I've told this group before, there's a great book. It's called When the Boomers Bail by Mark Lautman. Parts of it can be highly technical and, kind of after a while you're going, what? But most of it explains very well what's happening with rural America. And they talk about the cities who are going to be winners and the type of city that will be a loser. And many of us are retired here in this community, but if we're not careful, there won't be people to provide the services that we require. Nurses, doctors, people that work at restaurants, you name it, plumbers, contractors. it's, when I talk to the Colorado River Building Industry Association, they can't find HVAC people, they can't find plumbers, they can't find electricians. Goodness gracious, try to find a welder. Many of those well-paying technical jobs, kids aren't interested in them. But so we're trying to promote that, because not everybody is going to go to college. We get that, and that's it's great if everybody could. But having said all that, if I was a plumber, I would have done all right. So we're trying to make sure that our community is attractive, where we actually start attracting the millennials to move here, and we believe we're going to be successful, but it's not overnight. It will take 10 to 15 years.
So do you have a vocational training schools for these young kids?
Much of it is at MCC.
MCC, yes.
MCC?
Yeah.
And we actually are starting a welding program this fall. Talking about welding.
Yeah.
Starting welding this fall. We have
That's
an
perfect.
HVAC program.
Right.
We have truck driving down in Kingman. I'm the recruiter for MCC here in town, and I'm out every day talking to our youth, our young adults, about vocations. Because not everybody's going to be a doctor or a lawyer
Exactly.
or an accountant.
Wait a minute.
Well, they're not. So I'm out every day pushing our vocations on our youth and our young adults, our millennials, because I talk to them realistically that, you need to have a skill.
Exactly.
You need to be able to work and support yourself. And I get a lot of interest from especially our high school students. And I do tours all the time at the college, and my biggest tour usually is HVAC and welding and nursing.
Mm-hmm.
So we offer CNA programs. Our CNA program is only one semester. So I know of 2 facilities here in town that are paying $18 an hour for CNAs. Our RN program is always full. So we are really working hard to get those vocations and get these millennials
Right.
into the workforce.
So not only what MCC is doing, which is critical to our local economy, ASU just added a tourism degree. So that's going to be helpful. They're adding some business degrees. And then our Partnership for Economic Development has created a program called Creative Comrades. And it's young entrepreneurs that actually reside here, where they can get together and talk about trials, tribulations, what they did right, what they did wrong, and just learn from each other. Then they went back east to, Edward Lowe, Cal, can you remember?
Edward Lowe Foundation.
Edward Lowe Foundation, so that they can learn how to do, quote unquote, economic gardening. And basically what that is taking local companies who are interested and putting them through a program to make them more successful. One of the interesting statistics, I think it's 80% of the local companies have 5 or fewer employees. Most of them want to grow, many don't know how. So that's what this is all about, because we could pound on the wall all day long to bring in a 200 company, 200 employee company. We've tried that, and you know what they tell us every time? Where's your workforce?
Yeah.
So what we decided was, instead of, if somebody wants to come here, we'll welcome them. But how about we just train what we have so that they can expand, attract more people in, and then it gets even better. So, yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Sandy with the Goodwill Career Center, and what we have done is we have partnered with MCC and ASU, and we host these hiring events. And what we have up and coming, and we partner with the police department as well, is we have a heroes event where we have marketed all of our high schoolers, our college students, and anybody else. Like if you guys have grandkids or children that you want them to have a career, we're having on June 7th, we call it the Heroes Event, and we will have 13 different governmental departments there that are in desperate need of employees. So this is the perfect opportunity for everybody to come to one place under one roof and get all the information they could possibly get for a career. So that's something that Goodwill does, and we host a lot of events, not just for governmental departments, but for a lot of our local employers. Yes, so we host events. We've done several of them for London Bridge Resort, for the Nautical Inn. Wet rods. We've done a lot of them where we have taken our database, which is current job seekers, and sent them massive emails, used social media, and we, just this past month, how many did we had
72 people.
72 people employed through our services. So, and it's a no-cost service, so it would be worth any employer's benefit to come on board with us and partner with us to get qualified applicants.
Absolutely. You know, I'm glad you all were here today because it sounded like, or I'm sure some people thought that this question was staged, but it wasn't. No, I am glad you're here because one of the things that you're learning today is that there are opportunities and people that are trying to address the problem of demographic starvation and workforce. Because one of the things that we've learned, obviously, being in rural Arizona, is that the only people you can rely on are each other. Mm-hmm. You know, if we're, you know, and it's kind of like our Veterans Court. We started Veterans Court back in 2013, and a lot of people told us, you're in rural Arizona, you don't have all the services and whatnot. And we could have cried and said why we would never be able to do this court and whatever, but instead we said, you know what, we just need to help each other. There's got to be services. If not, we'll create those services. And now that Veterans Court is one of the most successful Veterans Court in all of America. And everybody comes to us and saying, how the heck did you do that in a isolated community like Lake Havasu? And this is another great example of how we're trying to promote ourselves, get people educated, trained in technical skills. Perfect. It's great. Yes, ma'am.
Oh, I'm so glad we brought up the programs for like welding and stuff, because I have two boys, 130 and 133, and I'm dying to get them out of, one's near Reno and one's near Lake Tahoe, and I want them to move here, and but you know the question of is, can they make a living, and can they? But I have one of them that's really interested in welding, and that would be great. I'd love to talk to you about that.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that I think it's going to be hard to get them away from Lake Tahoe, but
No, they don't want California. That one tired of California.
Okay.
Your Honor,
Yes.
I have to dash and run.
Sure.
But I have a challenge for the city.
Okay.
And it is the image of the city as I see it as I drive around.
Mm-hmm.
I am very concerned about yards. And I challenge you to go past the corner of Sunfield and Kiowa and see if that's what you would want next door to you. Because years ago, I was on Keep Havasu Beautiful committee.
Yep.
And we have setbacks, and because of travel, it is not a parking lot. I've talked to you about this before.
Sure,
And I know there's no ordinance, but I believe that the people that live in this community would value an ordinance that kept that from happening next door to them.
Well, if you want, you give me the address and we'll have code enforcement
Yes,
take a look at it.
Well, code enforcement isn't going to stop it all over. She doesn't just drive around and see them and say, hey, you can't do that. I drive around, I go here and there, and I see it, and it upsets me terribly. There were actually people living in Daytona during the winter on a lot parked right next to the store. It was their friend's house, but they had their RV parked there, and they had the courts, and they were staying in it for 2 months this winter.
Yeah, we have an ordinance against
That
that.
is not in the code, but.
No, it is. You can't do that.
No, it is in the code, but they do it. And
But unless you inform us, it's hard for us to know that it's occurring.
the corner of Kiowa and Sunfield, I go up
okay.
Kiowa to go home. Check it out, but
Okay, we will.
I live, and I bought a house, I couldn't complain when I rented, but now I own a house, and it's my property value, and I want to see it you know, it's gravel. That is not a parking lot. That is your front yard. They pull all
Well,
the
that-
stuff in there. My husband said that's because their friends come here and they don't want to pay rent on their vehicles and their boats and stuff. They leave them at their friend's house. The friends are responsible.
Mhm.
The people who live there, the friend that lives here. And that's the image of Lake Havasu City that upsets me terribly.
Sure, yeah,
Okay.
but if there is somebody living in an RV on an empty lot, that is
But
against
they're
code.
visiting a friend.
Yeah, that is against code. Parking on the front yard rocks is not against code.
Maybe against the code.
Yeah,
I think that everybody here would like that.
well, it's interesting, we brought that up actually multiple times at a council meeting, and the last time that I suggested that we prohibit that, I was almost strung up on a tree.
Well, I'll come there and stand in front of you.
Well, then both of us would be in that same hanging tree.
I might be little, but I.
Yeah, but I understand I mean, in fact, one of the things I said was that if it were up to me, I would have an ordinance that prohibited that. However, it was the community still wasn't ready for that.
I wonder
And
how many
so-
people here agree with me.
so-
Raise your hand. Hey, here. Come on. You
Yeah,
want
only-
that next door to you on your house?
Yeah, only about half,
So there
unfortunately.
you got a consensus.
So I think eventually the community, as more infill takes place, their attitude will change to say we need to do something.
My daughter just moved here. She's going to be a school teacher here.
Oh, good.
Her daughter's going to be in a teacher's aide, and all
Wonderful.
my family is here now. I'm very happy, and we're going shopping for appliances and table and chairs.
All right, enjoy. Yeah.
Something else that I know as myself, maybe others should think about too. I see on an occasion, usually after the holidays, trash floating around. Palm fronds from the high winds, but a lot of it's just plain trash. Cardboard boxes, wrappers, you name it. And it sits there for days. Now, Havasu City does try and clean it up.
Sure.
But hey, we need to turn around and if the darn thing gets your attention, get out, throw it in your car, throw it in your trash barrel when you get home.
Right.
Same thing with somebody who's got a yard that looks like a mess. Try and contact them and talk to them politely and find out maybe they are just old enough they can't keep up with their house.
Mhm.
Maybe they could use a little help once in a while.
It's interesting that you say that because there was a discussion a couple of years ago about whether or not we should have a weed ordinance because a lot of homes get overrun by weeds. And one of the arguments that prevailed, if you will, was that this is a retirement community and many of the people that are here are older on a fixed income and just can't afford it.
Or can't get out and do it.
Or can't get out and do it. The problem is we can then, okay, so then you have maybe volunteers that are willing to do it. Unfortunately, because of all the different rules, the city can't sanction that. But that's certainly neighbor to neighbor. I see nothing wrong with it. Help your neighbor. I absolutely agree with you on that one.
I've got a neighbor, and we've got a barrier of oleander bushes between the two houses. Well, we did have. Over the renters coming through, there's like 3 oleander bushes out of 8 that survived. So I've taken to watering the remaining 3,
Sure.
picking up the branches and so forth, and cleaning them back up, trying to bring them back to health. And if I can't talk the management company into it, I'll probably pop for a bush myself and put it in there just to turn around and make it look better
Right.
and keep it cleaner.
Yeah.
It's not going to cost me anything per se.
Right. No, you're absolutely right. I mean, a great example is my mom. She's of an age that there's no way that she can do that. So my brother and I come over and do it for her. We just make sure it gets done. Yes, ma'am.
That lady that was just here, I didn't really understand what she was talking about. Because I have my RVs parked on the side of my house, and there's actually complete hookups, although I don't do that. But she's not talking about making an ordinance that you can't park your own RV in your own.
No, I think what she was suggesting First of all, that came up a few years ago as well, and everyone said, no way, no how. What she was suggesting was that I believe she said there was an empty lot next to this home. The RV was parked there and people were living in it for 2 months. That is prohibited. Yeah, you can't do that.
But if you had your RV on your own property and you had friends that were staying in it they were there to visit for a week or something, that'd be.
I think there's a time limit.
Yeah, there's a time, I think 7 to 10 days.
7 to 10
Yeah,
days.
there is a time limit, it's in the code.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, because otherwise,
Do that.
otherwise you're going to have all those everywhere. Yes, sir.
With all the construction that's going on here, on your favorite subject, curbs and sidewalks, okay? There's an example on Kiowa and Duke where there was a perfectly good sidewalk there that went from the wash to the corner of Duke. And now that the house is just about done and the landscaping's done, the sidewalk's pretty much cracked on every panel, curbs broken away, all that kind of stuff. So in a couple of years, you'll be taking our money and repairing this sidewalk. I think you should, on property that's being developed that has current curbs and sidewalks, they should be visually inspected with the contractor and the city prior to and after, so that if there's any damage to them, they're repaired by the contractor, not by the city.
Yeah, I'd be interested in knowing that address, because I agree that if it's being busted up through construction efforts, it should be repaired back to its original condition. In the situation that you have, I mean, I think you make a great case for we need to take pictures beforehand. That's what we did, you know, when the sewer was being put in. What we literally did was we took pictures before we started on every home that was going to about to be hooked up, and then pictures afterwards, so that the contractors knew exactly. It was for two reasons. The contractor knew exactly how it had to be put back, what it needed to look like, etc. And also from a taxpayer standpoint, making sure that nobody took advantage and wanted upgrades to everything because we didn't take any pictures and didn't know. So, but if you don't mind sending me that address,
Okay.
I'll take a look at that. Absolutely. Chuck.
Yeah, back to the education. I heard on TV one day that dental hygienists here in the state, probably in the city more, average pay was $84,000 a year. And to show how economical, MCC has one in Kingman, or in Bullhead. I called them up to find out if you had to get your prerequisites and everything was $39,000. My grandson's girlfriend just signed up in a school in California, and she's paying for the same course $140,000. So it just shows you how economical.
Sounds like she needs to move to Arizona.
Well, I tried to get her to come here, but she had already signed up at that school with a contract and everything.
Sure.
So she couldn't, and she already had her pre-reg, she already has a 4-year degree. So all she would have had to get was go through the dental hygienist part of it. But if they would show how much money these people will make, welders make excellent money.
Oh, absolutely.
And there's no such thing as being unemployed if you're a good welder.
Yeah, you do stainless steel welding. A friend of ours up the street, his son does it in restaurants. He makes $50 an hour.
Yep.
With a company truck, company gas card, everything.
Absolutely.
Going back to curbs and stuff, how does the city decide what streets to curb?
We try to.
Is that an open question?
Yeah. Well, no, I don't know that we have what I would call, and correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not sure that we have a specific plan or whatever, but generally speaking, we've put curbs and sidewalks around schools and downtown area, that sort of thing.
Our 3 lots and above have to have it.
Yeah, there you go.
We live off of Whitecap.
Yeah, we would love to do curbs. Well, from a city standpoint, we would love to do curbs and sidewalks throughout the community. Not everybody in the community agrees with that. I'll tell you that right up front. But consider this, to do that, it's $250,000 for every mile.
Oh wow, that's a lot of money. So I live off of White Cat, and so that's the main road. I leave my house. I drive down to Saratoga, and every time we have a rain, all the rocks, and then 2 days later, 3 days later, the city has to come out and clean it all up because I've already gotten 2 flat tires.
Right.
In the last 2
we've
years.
been telling people to do, and we do have a program for this. We have helped homeowners with changing the rock, because first of all, that rock you're talking about that's sliding away.
It's horrible.
Well, and it's not actually the homeowner's property. Okay, that's the easement of the city where your mailbox is at and whatnot. And we've helped people, telling them what kind of rock they can put there, and it doesn't go away. And it's just a little bit bigger rock. It doesn't go. The water goes right through. You're in great
because when we have a rain, the road is almost impassable.
Yeah,
it really.
There
really
are
is.
some areas that are very difficult to deal with, and here's the other problem with if you do curbs only in certain areas as opposed to a massive program citywide. By the way, that massive program citywide is estimated to cost $40 to $50 million. But if you only do it in certain areas, keep this in mind. Our sewer system does not have drains, so it's not a stormwater system.
Oh, okay.
The water goes down. McCulloch designed it so it goes down the street and hits the washes. So if you put a curb in one area that forces water down even faster, somebody else gets wiped out. So that's, those are the things we try to deal with. There are some areas, especially north end of town, I think it's Maverick, I can't remember, there's a couple streets, oh my goodness, when the water hits, it actually, you'll love this, it took out the curb. Completely went down under, took out all the curb and the person's water meter.
Oh wow.
It was amazing. So, but the back in the day, it is my understanding when the community was being told that they had to put in the sewer system back in 2000, 2001, the council and mayor at the time proposed actually adding to that cost curbs and sidewalks, and because of the cost, the community said, it's already too much money for the sewer, we're not going to add to it. But we will try to, we continue to do a little each year, and we'll continue to do that. Right now, our biggest priority with flood control money is shoring up the washes, because they're, as you know, over the last 50 years, they're getting wider and wider, and they're now beginning to threaten private property, whether it be homes, commercial businesses, whatever. And so we're trying, we actually went to the federal government, I went back to Washington and tried to get them to assist us with that, because those are under their jurisdiction. And what did I say before? When you're in rural Arizona, you just got to do things yourself, and that's what we're doing. We're taking some of the flood control money that you pay on your property tax statement, goes to the county, and it comes back to us. We're using that to shore up those washes. And that's going to be a massive, massive project. Yes, sir.
All right, so while we're on curbs, I've got a house on North Kiowa that it's got a driveway for my cars, but I would like to put in a driveway for like an RV or something. It's got a curb right there. Can I do that? And I know the city wouldn't do it, but I mean, can I do that? What do I need? Do I need a permit?
To do a cutout?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would go see our building department, because you probably do need a permit to do a cutout. We don't prohibit anybody putting in an extra driveway or whatever, but if you're going to do a cutout that was put in by taxpayer, yeah, you'll need to go through our building department. Yeah. And you just see the people downstairs at City Hall. As you come in the door, it's straight ahead. That's where they do all the permits and whatnot.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm on the corner of Starvation, Jamaica,
Okay.
across from the elementary school there.
Mm-hmm.
And so what department would I go to talk about these rocks? You talked about helping put rocks to where they don't go.
Right.
off.
Yeah, that would be Mark Clark.
Sure.
The
There's information on the website as well.
Is there information on the website? Okay. Well, there's information apparently on our city website, but if you want to send me an email with your, then I'll send it on to, his name's Mark Clark, and he's been working on certain neighborhoods to make sure that we're able to assist with that. I actually, when I lived up in Foothills, I had the same issue, but it was on I had a long, steep driveway, and every time it rained, all the rocks on each side of the driveway ended up in the street. And I was putting it in a wheelbarrow and putting it back up. I called up my landscaper and said, could you put in a little bit more heavy-duty rock? I never had the problem again. It just flat went away. It worked perfectly.
I
So-
have more problem with the parents parking. And we went and got big rocks and put out there.
Well, it's going to have, yeah.
Then, now, so that indicated parking places. So now they pull up between the rocks.
Yeah, well, the side of the road is a city easement,
Yes.
which means they can use it. It's public.
Yes, and I don't mind that.
Yeah, but they shouldn't. Yeah.
Is the city satisfied with this year's version of chip seal?
I don't know that we. I'll let Jess answer
Have you
that.
gone down the streets in Havasu and just actually seen what the
Oh
stuff
yeah,
looks like?
I see it all the
It
time.
looks like a desert road with just crack marks. No stone.
Yeah, the chip seal program, we hear some folks that can't stand it. We hear some folks that appreciate it. The large reason why we do the chip seal as opposed to other road maintenance
That's
efforts.
fine. I mean, I've been here a while. Chip seal has changed apparently.
Okay.
I think are you talking about there on Jamaica,
Yeah.
where it's just black?
Well, even up the north end of town.
Yeah, I think what he's talking about is, and I noticed this as well. I never saw the chips.
Oh, okay.
I saw the seal, no chips.
The chips were there for 2 days on Jamaica, and then the card popped.
Just look at your main arteries when you're the surface streets you have here.
Yeah.
It's just not a.
It's on Jamaica?
Yeah, it's basically, it looks like it just simply got oiled,
Yeah.
but without the chips.
Okay.
That's all over the place.
So the rocks were placed and then they just
He said
disappeared?
At home in Wavy on Jamaica.
Okay.
Look at that, and you'll see what it's.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I can show you.
yeah,
I know
well-
exactly where they're talking about.
You're not satisfied with it?
We'll have some conversations. No, I mean certainly when you hear the feedback from the residents in this room that say, "Hey, something's wrong," we're going to stop.
It's like we're getting a short
Yeah,
end of
we're
the
gonna
stick.
and we'll address it. So.
It's like we're getting the short end of the stick. Somebody forgot to, follow control.
Well, when we're having contractors doing it, so what
Right.
we'll do is, if it's not being done right, we have the ability to make sure it gets done right.
Okay.
I think a lot of it
Yeah,
has to
absolutely.
do with the shape of the rock that's put down. If you put a round rock down, it's gonna roll away, just like the round rocks next to your driveway, okay?
Sure.
Right.
You've gotta put mine rock that has sharp corners,
Yeah.
so it sticks and wedges in.
Just had a sidebar with Chief Doyle. Apparently, the PD's been getting some phone calls about it as well too. So, our Public Works, our operations manager has been in contact with the contractor. So we'll be resolving that very soon. So it's an issue. We're not satisfied with it. We'll take care of it. Yeah. Sure.
Back here.
You talk about websites and all of this with the city. This community is primarily an older group, and a lot of them are not computer people. If they even have a computer in their homes, do they know how to use them and get access to it? And I think something should be done to help seniors, or some kind of a flyer to go out with a phone number instead of a computer link. I mean, something that can be put in, put a flyer in the newspaper, or, an addition to the newspaper or something, because a lot of people around here, I'm sure, have issues with computers, if they have one, and just a phone number for the different city departments, and instead of, well, go to this link and that link, and they're gonna look at, like, what's a link?
Yeah, I think you'll find that our retirees are more computer literate than maybe you're giving them credit for.
Thank you.
But having said that, in the paper 2 or 3 times a week is all of our phone numbers and how to contact us.
City Hall?
And City Hall, right. Or you can just travel to City Hall. But, and then of course we put flyers all the time in the water bill as well. So there are ways to get a hold of us. I mean, I understand what you're saying. But having said that, most of our seniors have a phone. That is.
Well, yeah, everybody has a phone of some kind,
but that's a computer.
It's the computer issue that, I mean, I've talked to people here about, a computer. Oh, you can go online and get that. And they kind of look at you like, well, yeah, now I gotta have a computer, and
No, if you've got a phone.
Spread the word. MCC does have community ed classes, and we always offer some type of computer. Teaching people how to get online, teaching people how to, set up email. So we do have community ed classes that we do offer those type of assistance.
Specifically to seniors?
That's usually the people that take those classes, and I think at the library they also offer some classes as well.
All right, I think they want to comment on it too. I can tell.
Yeah, we are very well aware of the illiteracy amongst the seniors with computers. And so what we've done is we have started partnering with Frontier, which is going to fund our computers, and we will be offering simple computer classes for anybody that's in need. I can't give you the date on that because it's still in the works right now, but we will be sharing that information with the community.
And prior to that, anyone who comes into the Goodwill, if they're seeking employment, or even if it's just a matter if they don't have an email, like I usually help them and walk them through the process of setting them up with an email and get them started. And it's basically one-on-one service. And I've helped a number of elderly people with that process. So there are resources.
Okay. Back here.
Change of subject.
Sure.
Nice little park across from Kmart.
Oh, Wheeler Park.
Yeah. Waterfall, green grass. How do you get over there without getting run over?
That was by design. You weren't aware of that?
Well, if we just had a crosswalk with a button with a light for people to park in the parking lot.
That's a good question.
It's a beautiful place, but
yeah, it's primarily, and I think it's a great question. That park is primarily there for veteran memorial types of things.
so it's you only use yearly or whatever.
Christmas tree lighting, and we have a Marine Corps League memorial service there.
Well, I understand
but,
all that. My point again is.
Oh yeah.
Putting a button up on McCullough to push so that it flashes and people can walk. I think there would be one in that area someplace.
Yeah.
Because people do go fairly fast around that corner.
Yeah, they're coming around that roundabout there. Yeah, I know exactly because our Veterans Day event is there, and it is. Now that one's a little bit easier because the parade stops all the traffic and whatnot, but you're right, yeah, and it is beautiful. I think our Public Works employees did an unbelievable job getting that waterfall to work again. It just looks absolutely wonderful. But yeah, that's something I think we ought to take a look at. Agreed, you bet. Got a few more minutes. Chuck, you got a question?
Yeah, do you know, and I know Cal's here, he's running for mayor, I'm supporting him. If the other people running for mayor
There's
are
only
going
one.
to continue, well, you said if we're retiring too early, I think you should stay another 4 years. Are going to continue the coffee with the mayors and that. Have you heard anything from anybody?
Cal?
Cal's here. He's
Cal?
here for-
Cal, are you gonna continue contact with the mayor?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah, Cal has indicated that he would like to continue. Having said that, because he works a lot of times until 2 in the morning, you probably won't start him at 7:30 in the morning.
That's fine.
Thank you. Yeah.
I'd like to suggest cocktails with Cal.
We can do both. Mornings work, but
On him.
7:30 is a little
Does
early.
the waterfall use recycled water?
You tell me. I think it does. I think it's got a basin recycled.
Yeah, the water that flows through the fountain is recycled over and over and over. Yeah.
Are they using the processed water?
No, effluent, no.
No, it's potable water. So the cost to plumb it for use for effluent, the cost is pretty high. But yeah, we'd like to get there.
You're still working on that as a process.
Yes.
That would be nice. It'd be great. So if we're able to do effluent to other areas in there to make the cost sound better, so we could do multiple uses with that effluent, then we would get to that point. But yeah, we want to do that. So that's just basic water conservation. That makes a lot of sense.
Yes, ma'am.
I buy a yearly pass for the state parks.
Yes.
For boat launching and stuff. On that new Havasu Riviera, since that's privately owned, is that going to be a private boat launch then?
No. I mean, that's a great question because I get it a lot. Why doesn't my pass work at the new state park? And here's why. The new state park, it's still an Arizona state park. However, because a private developer is building the whole thing, he was able to get a concessionaire agreement for 40 years so that when he operates, he can get his money back from that. So what they did was said, well, how are we going to work out a annual pass? How do we split revenues or whatever? So what they finally said was, let's not make it too complicated. You can buy an annual pass to that park alone if you wish. It's available. That park is open to the public. It's just that if I buy one somewhere in Phoenix, it's not going to work there unless I buy that specific pass. And that's the only reason is so that otherwise that park probably would have never got built.
Right. I have another one.
Sure.
I live on the south end of town, South Tacoma. Is that going to make our property values go up when that all gets done? I mean, is our house going to be worth more?
Well,
let's hope.
That's a really
I would assume the answer is yes, but who knows? Right now, property values are going up pretty rapidly. It's funny because we go in these cycles. There was a period of time where home values were low, stayed low. In fact, in some cases were lower than when we bought. Then so they were very affordable. Then they go like back up in 2006, they went quite high. And you're thinking, well, where's young people going to live because there's no affordable housing? Here comes the national economy taking a giant crash. And now everybody's concerned that their home is no longer worth what they paid for it. So we go in cycles, but you know what? What really, I think, drives the home prices locally is probably the scarcity of homes more than anything else. And we will be limited in terms of how many homes we can build. Because of the amount of water allocation we have, we'll probably be at around 96,000 people. We're only using about half of our allocation today, so we've got plenty of room. But that's probably what will ultimately be the driver of any.
I want to get my kids in here,
get them in early.
Yeah, I want to bring my grandkids.
Yes, sir.
So top on that, okay, if property values do escalate in that region, and I anticipate they will the property tax increases be venue specific or are they going to be general?
our property tax is well, first of all, the city only has a very small property tax. The rest of it is all county. So we have a very small primary property tax. We kept the levy exactly the same. In fact, we've been collecting roughly the same for more than a decade now. But so I don't see the city, of course I won't be here after this coming year, but I don't see us doing a whole lot with that levy. It will either remain the same, would be my guess, and then it will bounce around based on assessed value. But everything else is set by the county. Yes?
Is there anything happening with the media between Swanson and Mesquite that they've talked about between, like, in front of Burger King? Did they talk about doing it?
Lake Havasu.
Oh, on Lake Havasu Avenue.
Lake Havasu Avenue.
I'll let you.
Yeah, that's a project that's in the CIP. I don't know offhand what year that was programmed. On June 12th, the council will be adopting the tentative CIP capital improvement program with lists all the projects for the next 5 years, as well as our tentative budget for the next fiscal year. But that is a project that's in the CIP, probably about 3 to 4 years out is my guess. Available on the website for those that use the website. Otherwise, you can reach out, give us a call, and be able to give you that information as well.
I think we've had issues with bids.
Yeah, for sure. So it's something that's programmed. We're taking a look at it, trying to be cost effective. We're getting lots of all of our bids that we come in that we do with construction are all over budget. It's just the world we live in now, and with all the construction that occurs across the state, across the country, contractors are working, and that's a good thing for them, but it drives up the cost of projects. The mayor talked about the stoplight up at for Havasu Riviera. We just opened those bids this week. Guess what? Came in over budget. So that's something that we're looking at very closely, trying to maybe adjust the scope in a way that drives down the cost, that still allows us to put together a stoplight that makes sense for the community, that works. It allows the opening of the Havasu Riviera project as planned. But yeah, we run into these things all the time. We try to be smart. We're using taxpayer dollars, but we want to make the improvements as well too.
Yeah, unfortunately, again, going back to rural Arizona, we don't have as many contractors that can do some of that work. So they come from all over, and their mobilization costs are high. They have so much work at their own locations, they don't want to come here. But having said that, when the economy was bad, everything came in under budget. So, Joy.
Mark, can we talk about Main Street? I think there's
Sure.
going to be some change. You're going to make some changes on Main Street.
Not. Well, the answer is we would like to. Right now, that's going to be a ways off because of cost, but the proposed plan would be to bring sidewalks out further, because merchants would like to have more sidewalk space for outside dining and whatnot. There'll still be street traffic, but they'll change the way the parking is configured. So, but that's
Well, the street is absolute mess. And
Well,
trash is getting out of hand. I cannot handle it.
yeah.
I don't know if you know, I'm out there at 4 o'clock in the morning, 5 days a week.
Yes, you are.
The city didn't give me this. The trash company, they came out, and my friend and I, they gave us vests, they gave us new pickup sticks, they gave us lights for our head. That's our trash company here in town,
Right.
because they saw us out here in the dark.
Yep.
Now, the trash, I don't know if anybody walks up and down Main Street during the day, but at 4 o'clock, and when we pick up, we use the grocery sacks from the grocery store. When we started in 2011, that's 8 years, we could do 2 bags. Now I do 6 of those. I fill them up
Right.
every day.
I
6 of
can't
those
disagree
bags.
with you. And and we have trash cans all along that street.
They're not in the right place.
Well, we can't put one every 3
Okay, I already
feet.
talked to Mark and Dan.
But there are trash cans, and Joy, you're right. There are going to be some people who we were talking about this earlier down at the beaches. There are going to be some people, you can lead a horse to water, and they're going to put the trash, instead of in the darn bin, they're going to put it right next to the bin. And we appreciate, I've got to wrap it up here, but we appreciate, I know you've been doing that on the street for years.
I'm not going to quit.
Well, because the pay is so good.
Right now,
She's a volunteer, folks. That was a joke. All right, we're going to wrap up. We just got a couple of minutes. Next month, we will be dark because of the July 4th holiday. We will have another coffee with the mayor the first Friday in August. It will be Golden Corral. I knew that. So we'll have it at Golden Corral, and we'll continue that normal schedule. But we are, for the July 4th holiday, the heat, all the rest of that good stuff, we will go dark then. So I appreciate you all being here. Thank you so much. If you do have questions afterwards, the chief and Jess will be here.